Today I'm talking about a very unique series that breaks the mold or the concept of being transported or reincarnated into another world. Because let's be honest, every single anime season, there always is an isekai type story. You have a character either being transported to a game world, being transported to a different dimension, or reincarnated into a game world, or reincarnated into another dimension. It is something we see every single anime season pretty much for the last decade plus. It is a common concept, just as much as you would see maybe a mecha series, or you would see maybe, let's say, a slice of life romance series. It is a common thing you see every single season. So you have oftentimes where all of these type of storylines blend together, and they start to feel very samey. And so when you have like outstanding standout series, let's say like Re:Zero or Mushoku Tensei, those are when they really peak and the interest of the community blows up, because it's like, holy crap, how different this is, and it uses the genre to its fullest, the type of storytelling and elements it has to the absolute peak that it possibly can. And so the series I'm talking about is called Uncle from Another World. Now, the title doesn't sound like anything crazy. Like, if you look at the title at face value, it's like an uncle from another world. Like, seriously? Because instantly your mind will start wondering, like, oh yeah, so we already have like a pig isekai that's going to be getting an anime, we have a spider isekai, reincarnated as a slime, etc. So when you think of like uncle from another world, you're like, so it's about an uncle? That's it? And I know when you hear that type of information, it's just going to be like, that doesn't sound like anything good. But let me explain. When it comes to these type of stories, when it comes to reincarnated or transported to another world, usually we see the character start off in this fantasy world, and we see their growth with either the main female character or just the party or whatever, and we get to see that story unfold until maybe one day they defeat the Demon King or whatever the main entity is within that world. However, very often we do not actually get to see the epilogue, or the conclusion of said story. And what I mean by this is like, what happens when the Demon King, or the main thread, or the journey of the main character is over? And I'm not talking about them just staying in that world. What happens when they potentially die in the other world, and then they go back to their original world? See, that is a concept that has probably been explored through a few other stories, but it's not something that has been heavily dived into a lot. And I feel like there's not a lot of series out there that have really blown up in popularity around this concept. And so when I see a storyline taking place after the journey of the actual isekai reincarnated story, it instantly piques my interest. So the concept of this story is about our main male character, the uncle, that was in another world for 17 years. Basically, he was transported back in 2000 exactly, and then he was put into a coma in his regular body in Japan, and eventually he woke up 17 years later in 2017. And from that perspective, it's interesting because obviously time has moved forward. Time has continued to tick on down and continuously move on forward, even despite him being in another world and being like in a fantasy world, enjoying himself with magic, etc. His body has definitely aged in the original world he was from. And so the character coming back to his original world and having to deal with the culture shock is something that is very fascinating, because I don't think a lot of people realize this until probably you watch this episode of Uncle from Another World, of just how much technology really has grown in just the last, 17 years. Like, if we're counting from 2000 to, like, 2017. That's not including now from, 2022 to 2000. The technology advancement has been ridiculous in terms of just phones alone. And so when you see the main male character having to interact with phones and technology, the internet and all that, it's a concept that is ripe for just diving into and making a very serious story. Now, looking at Uncle from Another World, at least from the first episode, the story is very lighthearted. It does have some darker aspects to it, but it's a very lighthearted show, and I feel like that this show might try to get into those darker details. I don't know if this is the show for that, but there definitely is a concept here that is really ripe for just, like I said, diving into and making something truly unique, and even deconstructing the very formula that is an isekai story. Because wouldn't it be interesting, just this is a hypothetical, okay, before I go too deep into this anime, a hypothetical, like, example here, let's think of, like, Re:Zero. wouldn't it be interesting if at the end of ReZero, okay, when Subaru does whatever he needs to do in his world or whatever, and, he manages to, figure out Return by Death, get the Sato, whatever, and all that, wherever the story goes, what if he goes back to his original world and he's able to see his mother and father again? Obviously, that's probably not going to happen, but once again, humor me. Humor me with that hypothetical. If that was to happen, imagine how interesting that conversation would be with Subaru and his parents, or just anyone in the life, and talking with regular people in the original world he was from in Japan, instead of the fantasy world. I just wonder how Subaru's life would actually be. It makes you wonder just what the characters would do if they are thrusted into a world that was once again just normal, without magic and fantasy elements. So you can see why the concept of Uncle from Another World, the series I'm talking about, is extremely interesting, because it does something different. Now, once again, this concept has probably been used quite a bit. For instance, there's probably a lot of manga out there I'm unaware of. Maybe there's some anime that's been adapted, but nothing that really strikes me that has blown up in such popularity as to the same level as, let's say, ReZero or Mushoku Tensei. So I wish that, like I said, this concept would be explored more. Now, let's get a little bit deeper. So the studio working on this is a relatively small studio. I actually have them pulled up on my screen here. I'll probably show a picture. Basically, this studio is called Altaler Pondark, or however you, or Pont Dark. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but basically, they've only worked on this series I'm talking about, Uncle from Another World, and then also Ganbare, which is another series I saw a long time ago, but it's definitely not something that, blew up in popularity. Now, another thing that does need to be stated, currently with the series, like the series' episode count, there is actually not a official, episode count. So we don't know if this is going to be, 13 episodes, 12 episodes, 24 episodes, 22 episodes. We don't really know how long Uncle from Another World is going to be. So for all we know, this can be a 2-core series, and if so, I'm excited if it is. If it's not, well, we'll have to see where the story wants it to go. But the point is that we don't know the episode count, and if you're wondering, where can you watch this? Well, that's the funny thing. Netflix jail. Yeah, so, the one thing I hate the most about, series that is very unique or interesting, like Summertime Rendering, I've talked about it on the channel a few times, is that usually the very unique series that I feel like could really blow up in popularity get grabbed by companies like Disney or Netflix or whatever, and not a lot of people get to experience them, because the only way to watch them is through alternate means, and it's the truth. Like, if you're wanting to watch Uncle from Another World, like this Uncle Isekai, you would have to go through other means, because it's a Netflix gel and it won't officially release legit or legally for months down the road. So because of that, you're left just holding your hands yeah, I'm going to have to wait maybe 6 months for the series to come out, and obviously around that time, 6 months from now, or not even 6 months, just 3 months from now, everybody's going to forget about the show. Everybody's going to forget about everything that's probably coming out this anime season, and the reason for that is because next season's going to blow everybody away. You're going to have Chainsaw Man potentially, we know we're going to get Bleach, we have a bunch of other shows that's coming out. It's just, the next anime season is going to make everybody forget about any anime that's been coming out for these past few seasons. And so because of that, when you look at this, I feel like this series could have benefited greatly if it would have been able to have an official release, let's say, by Crunchyroll. And it's sad that this series is in Netflix jail, because it's not going to be a popular series. It's not. I doubt this is going to be a popular series. It's going to go under the radar. There's not going to be a lot of people that's going to really give it a shot, because for one, the title isn't something that really draws your attention, Uncle from Another World, because when you think about that, it doesn't sound like anything crazy. And so it's just it's another isekai. That's what you would think in your head. And so it's not going to drag a lot of people in terms of popularity, wanting people to watch it. And the concept, like I said, even if you enjoy it and you're wanting to watch it, you got to skirt around Netflix jail. That sucks. So it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that, once again, always a unique show like this, and then Summertime Rendering is always grabbed by these companies that just do not understand how the anime community really wants their shows, how we want them an episode by episode that is released the exact same as the episodes in Japan, because it's at that point in time, if you're a seasonal watcher, you don't really care anymore about watching the show. You want to continue on to the next season, and it sucks. It really, really sucks. But, yeah, I just want to talk about that briefly. Anyways, I think that Uncle from Another World definitely has a lot going for it. I love the concept of it, and as I've already talked about for most of this video. I think the voice acting is really good too, like Dio's voice actor is basically the MC, so it's just, I think that this series is great. I would recommend it as well if you're wanting to watch something brand new from this anime season. Like I said, I doubt that this series is gonna blow up in popularity, and I doubt that this video is gonna really do well either, because of just how the series is. We'll see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong by the anime community, but I'm really sad, though. I'm really sad about that, because I just think that this series could really be good, and like there could be a lot of discussion on it, but the discussion is going to be killed by Netflix jail. But, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this video here, though. Yeah, I can't wait to watch more, though. Can't wait to watch episode 2. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this video and you want more videos on this series, please leave me a like and a comment. It does help me out a lot. It helps with the algorithm. But with that, guys, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.